All right, welcome back, everybody, to yet another live agent call review. I've gotten a lot of requests for these. It seems like everybody really likes them. So my ultimate goal is to provide the highest amount of value that I can so everybody can learn. When it comes down to it, it is so important to listen to your calls, record your calls, and go back and listen to them. Have somebody review them. Remember, it's never a gotcha session. The whole purpose of it is to listen, learn, and actually improve your skills. So today I've got Miss Michelle here with us. We're going to go over a call we had this morning and basically see what we can do to critique a few things. And it was really a good call overall, but just a couple things to go over, and figured it would be a great opportunity to hear some of the things the client was saying to help extend the call and maybe take it further into a sale.
Good morning. This is Michelle. I was giving you a call in regards to the appointment we have here for some final expense options. And how are you this morning? Good. And so just to make sure, right, that I have you in the right place, is that correct?
That is correct.
And how long have you been looking into this? Quite a bit.
So just to take a quick pause there. So when he says quite a bit, what's going through your mind as far as your questions to ask him next?
Find out about quotes. What has he been hearing? What kind of policies are offered and how much?
And you do want to know all that, right? The mistake that a lot of agents make is they jump right into asking very direct questions. And always remember, these people are extremely guarded. So they want to hold everything they possibly can away from you. So some people will tell you everything, but that's not the typical response. So the best thing to ask anytime somebody is saying that they've been looking for a long time, or they've talked to a lot of people, is, so what exactly is going on that's keeping you from putting something in place, right? It's more of an open-ended question, a broad question that allows him to talk. Right out the gate, I can hear that this is the type of guy that if you're really trying to ask very direct questions, that he's going to close off, not want to tell you quite enough, right? He's kind of tired, as we hear later on in the call, he's tired of talking to so many people.
Right. So what stopped you? Is it pricing? Is it the kind of policy that they're offering? What, a little bit of both? And then, so it's really important, right? Most of my families are on fixed income, so I try to goal to make sure that I'm focused on what's comfortable for you, right? And then my job here is to search about 40 companies to get you approved for the best policy, as well as coverage and the amount monthly. Does that make sense?
So you asked him, right? You had your own wording with it, which is perfectly fine. But you did ask him what stopped him, which is a great question. The only mistake that I would recommend you change there really is the fact that when you ask that, you should just let him answer. Don't ask him additional questions. Remember, many of these people have a short attention span. So you ask 3 questions, they're only going to answer 1. And again, when it comes to his answer, I've talked to a lot of people, and I'm not getting what I want, the type of policy I want, and I'm not getting the price I want. You need to find out the purpose to the question is to find out what the actual problem is. So, for example, in this situation, you want to know what's keeping him from moving forward. If you don't get that answer, you really shouldn't be moving on. So remember, when we're asking these questions, that the goal is to get them to spill their guts, get them to really tell you what their pain points are. And our questions aren't for our own knowledge necessarily. It's to figure out, to help them feel more heard and understood, so we can actually find the right thing or point them in the direction that they shouldn't be headed down. In other words, say he's looking for a $100,000 term policy for $10 a month. Well, your job is to explain to him, sir, you're 76 years old. That's literally never going to happen. You see? So,
You're saying that, and from the outcome of this, I'm like, oh my God, this could have all been avoided right here. My main thinking is keep sales resistance down. So I'm like, this is the problem. Let me tell them it's okay. I work with people who are low income. We got you on the price and we got you on the policy. I'm gonna look through everybody. My main thing was like, let me now make him feel better, but I didn't get all the information I needed. And if I would just had him elaborate, the rest of what just happened wouldn't have happened.
maybe my biggest focus on every single call is to make sure I hit all the points, that I don't leave anything unanswered. Right now, if you don't leave anything unanswered and he still doesn't move forward, or he still winds up hanging up on you, you always leave the call knowing you did everything you could. So, and I will say, after listening to the call, it does sound like you're trying to talk at him. You're trying to convince him a lot rather than allowing him. So, again, another purpose to our questions is to allow the client, or the prospect rather, to convince themselves of either they need it or they don't, they want it or they don't. Right? Those are, if they don't need it, we shouldn't be selling it to them. If they don't want it, we shouldn't be selling it to them. And that's the whole purpose, right? But no, you're right. It could have wound up in a sale. Maybe it wouldn't have, but
I'm not sure if it would have wound up in a sale. I'm going that far, but
you're
I
right.
think I would have had a more productive conversation with him.
That's the ultimate goal. So,
Yep, I've been through it many times.
Well, my name is Michelle, just in case you missed it. And what is your birthday?
Right now, I got 2 appointments that I got, one at 9 o'clock also. And right now, everybody's saying the same thing. So I'm thinking that I don't know exactly whether these guys is straight up with these policies. I
Okay.
done canceled 3 of them already.
red flag, right?
Oh, alarms went off. How do I?
And this is a point where I would say there's still the potential to turn the conversation around. Now, the fact that you're saying red flag means that you've got your listening ears on, right? It's because when it comes to this situation of somebody who's had 3 policies and he's canceled them, that's a huge red flag. And the fact that you're hearing it, that's a huge plus. So this is likely somebody who we would call a suspect. If you can't keep policies or you cancel them constantly, that is definitely a them problem and not a you problem. But it definitely could have. So for the record, we're at 2 minutes and 8 seconds. And at this point, if he doesn't give me a good reason, or really explain himself as to why he's had 3 policies and canceled them, and they don't really make sense, then there's absolutely no reason to continue the conversation, because he's probably going to do the same to you. But it could be just that, though, he's been told that he was going to get day 1 coverage and he gets the policy and it's a 2-year wait, which we're going to hear that here in just a second. Or it could be that he was wanting term and someone was selling him whole life, or vice versa. So all things considered, getting down to what his issues were with the policy, which we're going to hear a little bit more here.
And so is your concern more, are they offering wait periods, or what is it that...
All of them says same day. It's just that when you get the policy, it's not a whole life policy. It's UI policy, or it's a universal policy, a clinic policy.
And unfortunately, sometimes when you're speaking to, so especially if they're only working with one company, they like to speak only on that one company and what they have to offer.
It is not that they want to one company. They just choose out of the ones that they think I fit in by me giving them the information, and then it's turned out to be something that I really don't care for.
So one thing that I hear, at least within this call, is tonality. So when it comes to tonality, or what I mean by that is when he's talking about this UI policy, he's talking about, if you don't know, he's talking about an IUL, right? So when he's talking about that, that's a perfect opportunity to use a tonality that shows concern. So, oh, really? Wow, they were trying to sell you an IUL? So, what exactly, if you guys didn't talk about it, what was your problem with it? Right? It could be the fact that he doesn't believe it's true whole life. It could be that he knows everything, a lot about insurance, and it wasn't actually written properly. And it could be that he just flat out tells you, I only want whole life, and everybody keeps trying to shove these cheap things down my throat. You see? So comes back to the general questions that we want to ask to really dig deep and figure out what his problems are with all these policies that he's canceling. Does that make sense?
It's like a mama bear. I keep going in for let me comfort you instead of let me be the detective and find out
Yeah.
all the information.
That's a good way to put it, right? And I understand, just in your defense, I understand why you're trying to comfort him and let him know you're going to be somebody different. Oftentimes that comes later on in the call, right? We start off the call by telling them, hey, look, I'm going to do whatever I can for you, so forth and so on. That's just a prep to let them know what we're going to be doing later on in the call, rather than I want to think of the call as a trust progression. So you're going to progressively build his trust rather than getting it right out the gate. Look, you don't have to trust me. You don't know me from a can of paint. You don't have to trust me at all. But I'm going to do everything I can throughout the call to build that trust and let you know I'm here to care for you, right? So in this case, oh, wow, really? Like changing up that tonality. That, and again, going through more calls will tell us more stories as far as how the tonality is. But remember that for the future, that just adjusting your tonality a little bit shows you care. And that is, you don't want to care. You don't want to come off so distraught. Oh my gosh, Mr. James, I'm just so sorry this is happening to you. Oh, that's just so terrible, right? It's, oh, wow, really? So what exactly, and notice the pause that I give it. What exactly is such an issue with the IULs? Are they not explaining them right? You see, so if you change that tonality, it shows just a little bit more feeling behind it. I can tell you got feeling. I know you, right? But you have to convince them that you
Yeah,
have that
they
feeling, if
don't
that
know
makes
me,
sense.
right?
There you go.
So what I focus on are your needs. So when we're speaking about final expenses, right, I didn't get that far yet, but I will understand exactly what you need by the time I give you some options, right? But what I like to get out the way, and you brought it up, so I'll touch base on it now, is if we're looking for just the final expenses, right, to cover your burial or cremation, whichever one you're going to tell me, I always think it's the best option to go with whole life, just because it's always going to be there for you.
So I'm going to give you one extra pointer right here. So my big recommendation when it comes to what we're talking about or what we're trying to get them to do, so to speak, is to never tell them a definitive, this is what you believe in, and the reason isn't because we necessarily just want them to go with said product. It's so that way they can make the decision, right? That's why we ask, do you know the difference between term and whole life? You get to whole life, and most people, when you explain term and you then explain whole life, they say, oh, I want something that's going to last me the rest of my life, or oh, I want something that isn't going to end in the end. So they're walking themselves to that decision. When you tell them what they should be doing, again, some people, it's not going to bother, right? Because they're already on that boat. But most people, and I guess the other thing is, what if he really does want a term, right? Now you've told him that you recommend whole life or that you believe in whole life, and you're not going to get that objection from him that he wants a term.
Well, a couple of things.
Mhm.
I said that because he said what he said about term. They're giving me terms. So in my head, and this is still my head, I got to get out of my head. But in my head, he said he was putting a term, somebody just put him there. And so in my head, all my thoughts are, okay, these people are putting him in places. He didn't take a stand, and now he's like, I'm gonna take a stand on this call with this lady.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
let me tell him I got your back.
Right.
You told me already these weren't, what he said was, these are not whole life policies. And so that clicked to me. He wants to know that he's looking at whole life policies. So when I said that, but what I did wrong is I assumed it was for the burial. I didn't. And I asked the question, but I kept moving. I knew the answer already. That I caught that. I did not catch that as I did it. I didn't ask him what his goals were here.
But
I
the
just
why,
assumed that
really
he was
digging into
looking
that why.
for the burial. So find
Which is,
that answer out here real quick.
and again, it's not to say, oh my gosh, this is so terrible or everything's wrong. It's literally just to see how the different approaches. So it never means that it's a guaranteed sale, but it definitely is a work in progress.
Your family will be guaranteed that money. We don't have to play around with term, what can leave you and then leave you high and dry in one of the most expensive times to get insurance, right? So that's always my recommendation. But if you were to want to look into something else, that's when I would look into something else, because I can offer you anything. But that is very important to me to make sure that we're on the same page for what you need. So I intend by all means to get your input on everything before even thinking about giving you a recommendation. Does that make sense?
I understand. That's what I've been told by other people.
Well, it's fine. I would prefer you to be more skeptical the whole time.
I'm sorry that I have to tell you that, because I heard it almost 10, 15 times.
No, and I prefer you to be skeptical until you know for sure, right? You don't quite know me quite yet, and I hope that.
So just a little pointer here, what I likely would have asked right there, if we, depending on how the call goes and everything, if I get that question, what I would ask is, so tell me, James, what exactly made you want to fill out the form again? Right? You've talked to
I
so many
hear it in
people.
I hear it in myself. It's starting to get
Yeah.
uneasy in here.
And
Yeah.
again, remember, trying to avoid to be defensive, right? Take your guard down. Make sure to, in this case, really back off and show that concern. Why do you keep looking into it if you keep running into these problems? Taking your guard down and not seeming so pushy. But again, it's understandable because he was already very guarded right out the gate. So I'm sure
I
that,
mean, multiple times we're talking together.
yeah.
How do I get him to understand it's cool? I know that we're not there yet, but
Mhm.
let's kind of chit chat a little bit and see if it makes sense without giving him that big sales resistance, without being like, hey, I'm here for you and you're going to listen to me. I don't want to be like that, but that brings is good.
And really, what I say in those situations, hey, look, when it comes down to you getting coverage, my goal is to provide the absolute best option. And I want to make sure that it's what you want. So help me help you, and then just be quiet. Right? Now, another thing, if I find myself talking over somebody, even if I'm a little agitated, I'll still stop and say, hey, I just want to make sure. And sometimes this rebalances the conversation. Hey, Michelle, when it comes down to it, I just want you to know, I think there's a little bit of a delay in my headset, even if there's not, right? Just make it up. It seems like there's a little bit of a delay in my headset. So I just want you to know, I'm really not trying to talk over you. I'm merely just trying to help you. Is that fair? Right?
I'm writing that one down.
If you do decide to go through an application with me, that we get to a comfortable level, because I stick with you, right? I'd be your broker support forever. So me and my crew here. So it's really important that I know that I'm doing you justice. And that's what I'm here for. It's the only reason why I stick with this type of job, because I can do good. So can you fill me in? What are your goals? What do you want for your final expenses? Are you looking for traditional burial with the ceremony, or were you looking more towards cremation?
Oh, I'm not caring about all of that. Biggest thing is I got a mortgage, and I'm just trying to place something that, as the advertising said, you can help with that.
So this is where people may get confused.
I have burial insurance already.
This is where they're trying to veer off to another type of insurance, because when covering a large sum of money, it's easier to do so in another kind of insurance term. Whereas whole life, we're only going to be able to get up to a certain amount. What is your birthday?
So you are telling me that whole life don't go up to $100,000, which that is wrong, because I have talked to many of them that said it does.
Well,
It
sir,
depends
that
on
was
the
the
company.
whole point of me getting your birthday.
Yeah.
I could tell you exactly how much we can go up if you're perfectly healthy, but I can't really do much until I put something in my
That's
system.
what you're saying is what you are offering.
What I'm saying is I
Well,
need to get your birthday. So
let me get on to my other appointments and I'll talk to
that's
them.
quite fine. In the future, if you were really interested
He
in getting
hangs
some
up on me there. He's hung up already. I didn't realize it because I was in the other screen, but he was done. I hit that brick wall and I was like, all right, it's like pulling teeth, trying to get the information. And I seen just when he said the 100,000, I seen this is people are trying to help. And I understand that now. So when he probably got the term and then told the other person, so the other person was like, I'm gonna get you the IUL. And then now he's back at it again. And so I'm like, oh, well, let's get the information and see if I can explain things a little bit better. And then he resisted, and I'm like, oh, it's my towel.
So here's what I actually have a little bit of a added benefit here for the listeners. So do you know why term is typically used, not just for larger amounts, but the other reason why term is typically used for mortgage protection?
Well, because mortgages don't last forever. It's a period of time, so it makes sense. And then as time goes on, the mortgage diminishes what you need to pay. So I mean, it's a great product for that.
No, it's designed to protect for a certain time period, and that's why there's mortgage protection. So again, to go over what Michelle's talking about, whenever it comes to mortgage protection, it's the reason why term is typically sold for mortgage protection is because it's cheaper, more cost effective, and you're not expecting it to be there for your entire life. You're not expecting to try and leave $100,000 whether there's a mortgage there or not. So the term is designed to actually go the rest of the term of the mortgage. So, or when the end of your life, whichever comes first. So the reason why I bring that up is just like him talking about, well, I want to cover my mortgage, and then he's talking about getting whole life and it not going to 100,000 and so forth and so on. The perfect question, and again, call could have gone 10 different ways probably, but receiving that question is, okay, so why exactly are you looking for whole life for term? Because I'm going to guess your mortgage isn't going to last for another 30 years typically, or are you trying to only cover it for that many years? And then by that point, so say you live another 20 years and you've got a 30-year mortgage. Well, in 20 years, your mortgage is actually going to be cheaper. And that's why term is typically more cost effective. So, can you help me understand your goals as far as getting whole life for a mortgage protection? Right? Get him to speak a little more on that. And then maybe you find out more of the details as to why he's really wanting or has his heart set on something. And really, in the end, what I see for this guy is you want a product that doesn't exist, meaning he wants 100,000 for in whole life for $50. And that's where it's also our duty as an agent to explain, look, that's not possible. All life insurance is going to get more expensive as you age. So getting something that cheap is never going to be possible for you. And I always like to tell them, I'm not trying to be rude in any way. You said that you've talked to 15 people. I want to save you the hassle of filling out yet another form thinking there's some newfangled option out there. It's never going to be cheaper than what it is today. So that's usually how I round out something like that. But overall, just for your knowledge, it's not like it was a terrible call. You had confidence, meaning when you went into the call, you were trying to help him and you wanted to explain to him how you could help versus all the other agents that he's talked to. I would say the biggest lesson would be to use your questions as use more open-ended questions and allow him to speak, especially when anytime I hear somebody who's talked to multiple agents, my goal is to get them to talk as much as they possibly can, not about their dog. That's really important. You don't want to hear about their dog. You don't want to hear about how the siding fell off their house. You want to hear the exact facts as to why they're not moving forward and what are these other agents telling them, and then focus on those, right? That's where the active listening comes in, is actively listen to them and focus on those issues that they're running into and see if you can help them. Might be a thing where he's got the pie in the sky dream that is never going to happen. And maybe he's heard that it's never going to happen, but maybe you're just the last agent he needs to hear from, and that convinces him to stop filling out forms for pipe dreams. So awesome. Well, Michelle, I really appreciate you doing this. Everybody else in the YouTube ether really appreciates this. This is really good. Anything you guys have, do me a favor, drop a comment, drop some love down in the comments for Michelle. It takes a lot to come in and do a call review. It's not easy. So it's a really great learning lesson. Again, I highly recommend it for everybody. Michelle, any last minute comments, concerns?
No, this was super helpful. I just need to ask a question and zip it.
Yeah, that's one way to put it, right?
But I'll take that on and I'll practice that, because I do make it a point to ask them, why haven't you? Most of these people has asked 100 people, they're clicking all day, thinking that there's something's going to just come to their email, but they're talking to people. If they're talking to you, they're talking to people. So It's really important that you can understand that. So then let them talk a little bit more.
Yep. Well, that's good. I'm glad it was helpful. Again, everybody, appreciate everything, and we will see you guys in the next one.